Hi, and welcome to a very special Mythos Busters stream. I'm Sean. That's Ian. That's Scott. And
Hi.
tonight, we bring you, much to your surprise, I'm sure, because no one could have ever seen this coming in any way possible. A
It
couple
wasn't on a
of
calendar at all.
nope, no calendars,
No.
no events, no precedent set by the preview season this year, which has been a heck of a
hmm
thing. Uh,
I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, before we dive into our thing, like, how are you guys liking this new flavor of how they're doing this for Arkham? It's extended the hype for a decent amount of time, I think.
This is the best build-up I've ever had to a cycle,
Yeah, agreed.
easily. Yeah. And like
Yeah.
everyone is just like it feels like just a fever pitch. Like it is so well done. I think FFG marketing hit it out of the park this time. So hope to see it again or something similar, right? Like I know there's quite a few smaller content creators who didn't get previews and they're like, oh, I just need to ask. And so like next year maybe we'll have even more and more variety and like getting to see, content creators that I didn't know did stuff, quite honestly, because there's so much. And being able to explore them with the previews is just awesome.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Ian, do you have feelings?
I do. I mean it feels like a true preview season this year. And yeah, I hope it continues. It is a little unsettling just knowing how long it will be until we get to do another one. Like maybe a year from now. I don't know. But
Well, think how long it's been since Edge. And I know like there's been weirdness since then, but like man, it's a long stretch and it's weird.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, I think I agree with Scott that this is like the best it's been in terms of like building the hype and having all the community outlets build the hype, and it's great.
Yeah, and there's like coordination to keep things going and, guidelines that we've never had before. So like
Mm-hmm.
thank you.
I
Thank you,
believe
FFG.
I believe her name is Casey,
Mm-hmm.
the FFG person. So shout out to her. Not sure if she's watching or whatnot, but
Or cares about being doxxed, but
well, first names only.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's quite obvious to me the amount of effort put in just by the email we received and talking to other guys about or other people, sorry, about the emails they've received.
Mm-hmm.
Like the scheduling, and it's like, hey, this week put out this, next week put out this. Like if you need to differ on a schedule, move this way. It just shows like it kind of feels too like if you're looking at the cards as they're previewed in order, like there's a method to the madness. Like new mechanics all kind of like all at the same time or in a certain order, and so it's like, oh hey, look at this group of cards. So that's been really awesome.
Yeah, I mean it's cool that there's been a lot of thought put into it before it hits us, because then we just get to riff on what's already there. And yeah, we've worked over the years. We've been doing this a few years now at this point. We've had the opportunity to work with a few different marketing individuals at FFG, and Casey's AAA tier echelon. Just doing a great job.
Yep.
All right, wonderful. Well, enough preamble. Let's get to it, boys. So our first card, I think I'm going to bounce to you, Scott.
Ooh, okay. Let me know when it's up because I'm not watching the stream. Okay. All right. We have at a crossroads. It is a level 1 survivor event. It is null costed, dilemma and insight traded, and has no icons. Max 2 dilemma per round. Revelation. Choose an investigator and decide. Choose one. The investigator must immediately take an action as if it were their turn, then discards one card at random from their hand. Or the chosen investigator loses one action during their next turn, then draws 3 cards. Huh.
That's a dilemma.
So you can like basically chuck a card to get an action right now, which sometimes allows you to do that out of turn order thing, right? Depending on what you need that phase, but you don't know when this is coming up. Maybe not, like we're not sure because it's one of those dilemmas. but also you could lose a single action to draw 3 cards. Like what? That's pretty good.
That's a solid exchange.
Yeah.
I'm just sad it's not traded Prisoner's Dilemma and has Peril on it, because that would be that'd be the way to go, right?
Yeah. If these had Peril, oof. Yeah. Someone's asking in chat, when is then after their next turn? So the opponent loses 1 action during their next turn, then draws 3 cards.
Interesting question.
I guess it would be when they lose their action.
That's what it sounds like to me.
So then when you lose an action, it has to be one of your main ones first. So it'd be like your first one. I would assume like your turn starts, you lose an action, it happens.
I'd say you'll lose an action before your turn starts. Like, are you credited with your actions before your turn starts?
That is a question I know has been brought up, and I don't know the answer to it. I bet you there is rule people in the chat, that because there's been a discussion of when you actually get your actions for the turn.
Yeah, and there's also
well, you gain your actions in upkeep.
You gain your actions.
That's when you refresh.
That's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
So this is an encounter deck. This sits in the encounter deck, right? That's how
this works. This is in your deck.
This is in your deck, and when you all right, interesting.
So when you draw
this could happen mid-turn.
Mm-hmm.
So then for like solo play, for instance, if you draw this mid-turn, you don't lose an action right then. Your next turn that you take, you lose the action and draw 3 cards, right?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Interesting. I think this is really good. Especially even drawing in upkeep, you kind of know what you need right then, I think.
I mean, you generally have a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
Here's the thing is, like, I know this costs XP and you have to include it in your deck, and those are all sunk costs before you get to even debating what the cost of this card is, but given the option to discard a card from your hand for a free action in Survivor, if you're building for it even a little bit, that's fine. Like, free action is great. And then on the other side of things, if your hand is hurting, like 1 action, 3 cards, that's a very, very solid exchange. However, it does need to be noted that when you draw this card, it doesn't go into your hand, right? It just goes away. So part of that cost is the card that you didn't draw. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I messed up our template. So it's the opportunity cost of the card that you didn't draw, but you drew the dilemma instead. So you have to kind of take that into the calculus too. Not that I'm encouraging anyone to be a click economist here, but
I mean that is like, I mean, it's the same conversation we've had about shortcut, right? Like it's essentially an action for a card, right? Like it's you're exchanging a card for an extra thing you do as an action. And sometimes that's really valuable. Sometimes the card is more valuable. And so depending on what you're doing with your deck, is card volume more important to you, or is that converting those cards into actions or whatnot the more important part of your deck? Someone mentioned in the chat, I think it was Veronica, Patrice, right? Like, you draw this during your upkeep, you take an extra action, it goes away, and you're like, cool. Like, yeah, you basically get 4 actions on that turn and draw 1 less card.
I think the design on these is really interesting because generally, I mean, most cards you can kind of choose when you're going to get those effects, and these, like, in exchange for not really having a cost other than the things we talked about, it's going to pop out at a time that you can't necessarily control.
You lose a lot of agency and timing.
Yeah. So it almost makes it a little bit hard for me to evaluate, like, the strength of this kind of effect. Like, how effective is this versus something else that you can include in the deck? But I mean, I think that's just a good thing. That's good design on these cards and giving you that choice between these two. That I think one of those two will always be useful. So it's not like you're gonna draw it and be like, damn, But it's like I said, it's just a matter of, like, you're not necessarily in control of when this is going to go off.
Mm-hmm. It's very interesting too. In multiplayer, you can choose who does this. So as Patrice, you could choose someone else to discard a card and gain an action, or draw their 3 cards. Like I think that's incredibly powerful. Chat is pointing out though, if you do choose yourself, when we're talking about the action thing, for an action you're actually paying 2 cards, right? Because this is your card draw plus a card from your hand. So that's fair. So weaker than shortcut.
Yeah, I mean, but it's also like, yeah, I mean, it's tough to even say that it's that simple, right? Like, because it's a good comparison, but also this is just an event that you just have to play when you draw it. That's what it is. So this is still an event. It's still like a card that you would draw and then play. You just have to play it immediately. So it's interesting. It's really interesting.
Looking at value though, to me, like imagine, like, if you could, an event that was printed slightly different than this. So a 1-cost event in Survivor like this that says you must play this during your next turn. Draw 3 cards. That seems really good.
That's not too dissimilar,
right? So that bottom option seems. I think I'm going to choose the bottom option 8 to 9 times out of 10. I like the top. I like that the top option is there.
Yeah, but because occasionally that will be a thing that you're like, oh, thank God, I just needed one more action.
Yeah,
that will
look
be
at your hand. I don't love these, right? Like you just need whatever action you need. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, Archivos points out like the real problem here. What makes this is a dilemma, I think, is the at random discard. That can be tough, but I think. I mean, if any faction's gonna be able to sidestep that entirely or profit from it, possibly it's Survivor. So I think it's in these type of builds a little less of a cost, I guess.
Yeah. Veronica's saying, and this is fast in the sense you don't require to play it. Kind of. The top is the top part is fast because the bottom part you lose an action.
Yep.
Like it's essentially But someone is pointing out. Where is it? MSTROC Heroes? Anyways, you could try to discard your weaknesses, Agnes or Preston. Like if you just have your weakness in hand, because it can get randomly discarded.
Sure. Yeah.
But
a boy can dream.
Sure.
Probably not going to plan on that, but great side effect.
I look forward to some weird timing stuff coming out of this. I'm not as knee deep in rules as some players are, but like because let's say you committed like one of the cantrip skills to a test during Mythos, and then you drew off of that skill test, right, on a treachery, let's say, and then you drew this card. You would reveal and do that, right? So if you choose someone to take an action, you could have someone taking an action like in the middle of the encounter card draws, no?
What? Yes, you could. Like in the middle of Mythos, you mean?
Yes.
Like you drew a I don't know, like grasping hands, and
grasping hands. Yeah.
So the test, because this would like, if they're going to do an action, it waits until your test is over. Because if they're going to do, no, your test wouldn't be over unless they do a testing action of some sort, like a combat or evade, because that would get pushed outside of your test, because you can't nest skill tests anymore, unfortunately. But yes, they would do this in the middle of Mythos phase.
It could be a combo breaker, maybe.
I'm not prepared to go fully down that rabbit hole yet. Just food for thought.
Well, I mean, we have all the rules for Revelation, right? Like that is a well-precedented thing. It's just that this one's coming off your deck instead of the encounter deck. So, yeah. Man, I can't wait for someone to choose the draw 3 option and then draw Amnesia.
Well, your mistake was not throwing back Amnesia when you drew it at the beginning of the campaign. I'm sorry.
I mean, that would be second only to The Stars Are Right, Sean, when you gave me the resource card and an action, and I drew Narcolepsy.
That was pretty great.
Yeah, and I just lost the action because I fell asleep.
Definitely my favorite use of that card.
Yeah. Pro play.
I haven't been up on like other dilemma cards that might have been previewed. Like this has the max 2 dilemma per round. Has it been discussed? Does anyone know or talked about like what happens if you draw more than 2?
I think they just don't fire and they sit in your hand.
But then when would they fire?
They wouldn't. They just kind of.
They're just stuck in your hand forever.
Yep.
Get any?
Well,
well, we got rules text for the customizable cards. Let me double check.
Yeah, I don't think we
again. I don't think
got any for dilemmas.
Yeah, it doesn't fire. It's a dead draw and just goes to hand. Yep.
Wah, wah, wah.
I mean, at least it's in Survivor, which has a bunch of discard to do this, discard to do that.
Sure. Yeah. Then it's just fodder for one of those. Yeah.
But I mean, I think also like if you're doing that, the pro play stuff, you just discuss with your team like, hey, is anyone bringing Revelations, right? So like, and I mean, the chance of drawing 3 probably pretty low, though it is per round. Like depending on
on your player
you
count.
Underestimate my power.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm sure the rules will have something.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's just implied in the rules for Max. I don't know.
Oh, there's a link to dilemma rules. Okay, I'll read them.
Oh yeah.
Some player cards in this expansion, namely the dilemma, possess revelation abilities. As with revelation abilities on other card types, these card abilities resolve when the card is drawn and otherwise enters your hand, not when the card is played. These cards have no cost. These cards cannot be played. Their effects only resolve when they are drawn or added to your hand. After resolving a revelation ability on a player card, place it in its owner's discard pile. Revelation abilities do not resolve during setup. If one or more player cards with revelation abilities are drawn during setup, wait until the game begins, then each player in player order resolves all of their own revelation abilities in the order of their choosing.
Because that's going to happen.
Yes,
and people,
starting hand.
I haven't seen all the dilemmas, but like you might mulligan for them in some cases.
Yeah, that still doesn't answer our question. What if you draw 3? But I think like there's a bunch of people in chat saying it's a a dead draw. So
yeah, I mean that would make sense. I'm interested to know why that limit was put on there, though.
I'm gonna guess someone like busted the game in testing by making like an all revelation deck, like Patrice with all the revelations. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose especially even in Survivor, recursion's a thing.
So after you choose another survivor as a target investigator at the crossroads, and they draw 3 dilemmas. Oh man.
Whoopsie.
Yep.
Interesting. Also, I'm digging the Indiana Jones, like sometime between River Phoenix and Harrison Ford going on here. Some obscure age.
Key part about Revelation firing on entering your hand is, and this is Lord Batboy throwing this in chat, recursion, scavenging. You pull this back to hand, it fires.
Scavenging has to be an asset, though.
Survivor card. Isn't it?
Scavenging? Are you thinking resourceful?
Resourceful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, scavenging's the item thingy. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, sorry. Resourceful. Which, actually, that's sick. That is
sick.
God, I love Survivor so much.
Wait, but you add it to your hand, but revelation effects trigger when you draw, so does that work?
No, it says these cards cannot be played. Their effects only resolve when they are drawn or added to your hand.
There it is. Okay, cool. I dig it.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
All right.
Well, let's move it right along then to our next card. That's Ian. I feel like this one speaks to your heart, so I'm going to toss it to you. Let's go.
Is that a commentary on my preparedness?
No, you just like to shoot fishmen, don't you?
Yeah, that's one of my top hobbies. So I got some nice first-person view here. I like this art. Underprepared is a basic weakness. It is an event as a type with a cost of 1 blunder trait. Survivor Investigator only. Very interesting. Play only if Underprepared is the only card in your hand and you have exactly one resource in your resource pool. Very specific. While Underprepared is in your hand, each card you commit to skill test is considered to have one fewer matching skill icon.
Oh.
Oh.
Oh. No. Okay, first of all, commenting on the art, which is great.
Yep.
2 bullets, 3 enemies. Also, like way late to realize that this dude is entirely screwed. There's no getting out of this. It's done.
The Silas Killer coming from chat. Oof.
Yeah, it's nasty. Like, okay, I get limiting this to Survivor because they have the ability to ditch cards from your hands for other reasons, right? But not every Survivor build is going to do that. So, like, what if you draw this for one of your Survivor decks that doesn't do that? That's like build warping.
That doesn't commit, sorry?
Yeah, I mean, well, that doesn't have a lot of effects that let you discard cards from your hand.
I guess you'd have to just either play them out or commit them to tests. And then once you've committed them, they count as one less.
Yeah. Just hope your hand isn't like so full when you draw this, because that's going to be a pain to get down to one card.
Am I reading it correctly? While Underprepared is in your hand, each card you commit to skill test is considered to have one fewer matching skill icon. You don't lose the icon until it's committed, so you still get to...
I think that's... Yeah.
Okay, that helps. That helps answer my query.
It doesn't blank them in hand, so that... Yeah.
Yeah, you can commit them, it just... Yeah.
I mean, it's still mean. Like, buy your hand, commit it or play it, bitch. Get going. Oof.
Yeah, it feels like you have to jump through a lot of hoops. You gotta get down your cards, you gotta get down your resources to the right threshold, and then you still gotta play the thing too. So
yeah, actually, Network brings up a really good question. How do you spend resources when you need to?
Again, you have to have a thing. Like, I guess you're taking Scrapper if you pull this weakness just because, right?
Yeah, I mean, you gotta hope you have cards in hand that you can spend the resources on, but...
Although, I'll throw this out there. What Survivor doesn't bring Fire Axe or Mariner's Compass nowadays? At least one of those.
True. I mean, that's definitely why this is in Survivor. Like, this is the class that can do it, but it's possible. Like, if it hits at the wrong time...
Yeah, to spend like 6 resources to pump up your axe to hit a rat or something, just so you can get this out of your hand. Ugh.
And then the thing is, once you're done doing all this, you have an empty hand and 0 resources.
Yeah.
Good job.
Like usually when you clear a weakness, it's like, okay, now let me get back on track. I have all this stuff in my hand I can do. This is like, well, you're completely clear of everything.
Oh yeah, Jeffo says Axe is max 3, right? I forgot. Both it and Compass.
Yeah.
But yeah, still. Yeah, it just...
I'm with my Penguins or Lulls here that, like, despite it being called Underprepared, like, this is going to occupy a fuck ton of your brain space when you pull this as your weakness. You are going to have to prepare for this a lot.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's also interesting having a class-specific weakness.
Yeah.
One. I mean, that
go ahead.
That makes me think. I'm not sure if other weaknesses of this kind have been previewed yet or not. I'm sure chat will tell me, but I'm wondering if there are other class-specific weaknesses that are coming in Scarlet Keys.
I'd be surprised if they didn't.
Usually they do these as like a theme.
Yeah. Although, what was it? Guardians never got a patron. Like, each class got a patron ally, but Guardians didn't.
Guardians never got a patron?
Yeah. Oh, Veronica says, we've seen a Seeker and a Mystic weakness. So
I'm curious / nervous what the Rogue one is going to be.
Joke's on you, the Mystic weakness is Diana. No, I was kidding. I'm just kidding. Diana's great. That was a joke, Sean.
It's fine. It's fine. Yeah, wow.
See,
Okay.
to go for the low hanging fruit that the rogue weakness is just their printed willpower. So, value.
It's just you have to play rogue.
The rogue weakness is their card pool. How about that?
Woo!
Oh.
That's spicy.
I'm just kidding. God, I don't think anyone has a bad card pool right now. That is just not the
Yeah.
statement I can make. So,
Oof, man. Like, but then I'm thinking, like, you know, Jeffo said here, like, what if you just ignore it? What's it doing for you? Like, do you feel like survivors more than anyone else want to commit things, or less than anyone else, or like where do you think they sit on that continuum? It's like investigator by investigator, right?
I think
build by build.
Yeah, like Silas and Min. This would. Oh no, because it won't hit Min. She has access, but
yeah, Silas will cry if he draws this for sure.
Is it limited to access or?
It has to be the investigator class.
Okay.
Yeah.
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 Silas would hurt this. Wendy. I mean, who doesn't commit? I guess.
That's kind of my question. I guess if you're playing Geish and you're like, I won't commit.
Yeah. I mean, I've had some survivor builds where you are just kind of leaning on spending resources to like Fire Axe or Mariner's Compass, so you're like spending more than committing.
Yeah, Jeffo says like cornered.
Yeah, I mean, if you're playing cornered, this is pretty trivial.
Yeah.
You still got to toss out all your cards, but at least you've got an avenue to do it if this is hurting you. Plus, like, if you're playing cornered, you don't care about committing cards anyway. You're just doing cornered.
Yeah.
So, who cares?
Yeah, cornered like is the solution to this, I guess. But that's if you want to play cornered. So
that's fine.
Yeah, it might also depend on like what point of the game it's at, and yeah. Like, I'm thinking of some of my Rita builds, too, where, like, if you're also just going for a lot of passive boosts when she's rocking, like, 7 or 8 agility, then don't necessarily need to commit a lot on agility tests. And the nice thing is you can still commit the card, so you'll still get the effect out of it, right? Like, if you want to commit your Nimble, you just won't get the agility icon.
Yeah.
For example.
And Lord Bat Boy asked, do 0 icons reduce to -1 icons for like Take Heart? I wouldn't think so. The way I read this, it has one
fewer.
Yeah, matching skill icons.
Yeah.
So it's not saying it's going to go negative. It's not like Amanda's weakness. And Winnie's, right? They're both -1 essentially.
And Silas's replacement.
Yeah, I don't think they turn into gray. What do you call them? Wild icons.
Right. The weakness wild icons that subtract. Yeah, I think you have to have special game text for that to happen. But I've been wrong before. Interesting. So speaking purely from like a playing cards logistical perspective, you're gonna have to keep these weaknesses to the side and like throw it into your pool when you're drawing for a specific class, right? Like, I don't know, how does everyone draw weaknesses nowadays? Can we talk about that for a quick second since we're here?
If I draw a weakness, like I have my big stack of weaknesses.
Okay.
Or like if I'm playing or whatever. If I draw a weakness and it's not legal for the deck, I set it aside, draw another.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, like standalone, I drew a campaign only, throw it aside, draw another. So I feel like if you just draw this,
and you always take what you draw.
I'd say about 80% of the time, 90% of the time. Yeah. Sometimes I do like I'm a coward or whatever, and I'll throw back something I've played a lot, or I'm like, if there is a weakness that absolutely debilitates my deck, I'm just like, okay, you win. New campaign, reshuffle. Because I'm here to have fun. I'm not going to force myself to play something that I'm not going to have fun having. So.
Yeah. Okay. So then we're on roughly the same page. Big stack. I toss back weaknesses that I've played a bunch a lot of times. So really what I should do is just keep the new weaknesses that I would eventually want to try together until I've burned through them and then do the big stack. But I don't. Like, I'm not going to play another campaign with Chronophobia. I have done so many. I have done so many Chronophobia campaigns.
Yeah, I keep meaning to do that, to like create a selected list just for novelty's sake. The stack is so big now, and the nature of randomness, that there's a lot of weaknesses that I just either have not seen for a long time, or there's some of the newer ones that I haven't actually had in a campaign yet.
Yeah. Pick pie cheese. Asks, does this take away the negative wild you're forced to commit? And yeah, it does.
It would. It totally would.
So was it Dreams of the Deep for Amanda? And
well, that won't affect her because she's not Survivor. But it's Silas's replacement is the one that it might actually affect.
Yeah.
Which I think is also like Dreams of the Deep or something like that.
Yeah. Neat. That's a cute interaction. I like that.
It's cute.
It makes it less bad. Paichi's getting rid of Chronophobia. It's about time. That was a great pun. I appreciate it.
I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, fantastic.
All right.
Well, boys, anything else to say before we wrap up? As I mentioned, if you haven't checked out our Chaos game that we played earlier today, go check that out. I'm gonna clip it after we wrap here, but it was pretty whole as it's out there. And check out our podcast. Join our Discord. That's discord.gg/mythosbusters.
Yeah, I just put a link in.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Got it.
We'll get it one of these days.
And thank you all for joining us, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Bye.